Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because, wow, we are going to unpack something absolutely fascinating. We're taking a deep dive into the hidden machinery of online educational content. You see these self-improvement and language learning channels literally everywhere. But today, we're looking at what actually goes on behind the screen. It is a real eye-opener.
So picture this. What do a basic fast food order, a totally tragic airport story, and a 5 a.m. wake-up call all have in common? At first glance, they seem completely unrelated, right? One is a basic English lesson, one sounds like a daytime drama, and the other is just pure self-improvement motivation. But I promise you, by the end of our time together today, you're going to see the invisible thread that connects all three of these into one of the most brilliant digital strategies operating right now.
Okay, part one, strategies for English fluency. Let's jump right in.
We're kicking things off on what I like to call the front stage, the actual, highly effective learning content that millions of people are tuning into every single day. Look, if you're trying to learn a language, translating every single word in your head is a really bad habit. It completely slows your brain down and makes speaking incredibly stressful, because you're just stuck in this weird limbo between two languages. The good habit? Learning full phrases and thinking directly in English. A great way to practice this is by simply talking to yourself about your daily tasks. Saying things out loud like, I'm making coffee, or the water is hot, without translating, it trains your mouth and your brain at the exact same time. It's a real game changer.
Now, learners from our source material, folks like Sarah and Jake, they actually put this into practice using a surprisingly simple framework for pop culture. Jake struggled at first because he jumped straight into fast-paced superhero movies. The real secret here is starting small. First, watch an easy cartoon. Second, use English subtitles to connect the words to the sounds. Third, turn those subtitles off to really train your brain. And fourth, pause and repeat short scenes out loud to copy the tone. It's not magic, it's just strategic, step-by-step repetition.
Moving right along to section 2, learning through simple stories.
All right, so we know the mechanics of how people learn, but how is this information actually packaged to keep viewers coming back for more? Well, you teach through simple stories. Take the word combo, for example. Conversational English channels use incredibly relatable, low-stakes scenarios to teach practical vocabulary. We follow characters like Ken and Ellie going to a fast food restaurant. Ken is kind of nervous about ordering in English, so Ellie breaks down simple words for him like menu, receipt, and combo. The viewer learns that a combo is a burger, fries, and a drink for one price, all while being carried along by this really friendly, safe narrative.
But wait, it doesn't stay lighthearted for long. Get a load of this quote. Some people forget their hearts. This isn't from some Hollywood movie. This is actually from a Level 3 English listening practice story. It contrasts so sharply with the lighthearted burger lesson we just talked about. This is the story of Linda Parker, a 59-year-old mother who sold her home to move to Canada with her son Daniel. But at the airport, Daniel tells her to wait for a wheelchair, boards the plane, and literally abandons her. It is a heavy, super emotional story where she's eventually rescued by Officer Robert Miller.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would you teach English using such a tragic story? Well, it's because emotion drives retention. These stories aren't just random entertainment. Whether you're rooting for Ken to successfully order his French fries or you're crying for Linda being abandoned at the airport, this content is precisely engineered to keep your attention totally locked on the screen. When a listener is emotionally invested, the comprehensible input, which is the language learning part, it just sticks in their memory so much better.
And that brings us to section 3, the 5 a.m. mindset.
Let's see how all of this builds into our final piece of front stage content. We're talking about the ultimate self-discipline habit. Because as it turns out, it's not just language learning that uses these captivating narratives. The self-improvement space does it perfectly too. Let me tell you the motivational parable of Thomas. Thomas was a broke, totally exhausted night shift security guard going nowhere in life. That is until he met a successful businessman named Mr. Chen on an early morning bus. Mr. Chen gave Thomas this magic timeline. Wake up at 5 a.m. From 5 to 6 a.m., you build skills, like learning Excel or maybe a new language. And from 6 to 7 a.m., you build your body and mind by exercising and planning your day. Now, the absolute game changer here is the number 730. When Thomas actually sat down and did the math, he realized that waking up just 2 hours early every single day yields 730 extra hours a year. To put that into perspective, that is the equivalent of 91 full workdays. It is literally adding 3 extra months to your year to build your foundation while the rest of the world is just sleeping. How crazy is that? But, this kind of transformation requires strict discipline.
Enter Mr. Chen's 3 non-negotiable rules for success. First, no negotiation. You wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, yep, even on weekends. Second, protect your sleep. You absolutely must be in bed by 9 p.m. And third, you have to push through the pain. Because, let's be real, the first 21 days are going to be absolute hell. By following these rules, Thomas learned accounting in those early hours and completely changed his destiny from a struggling night guard to a successful office professional. It's an incredibly inspiring story, right?
Okay, buckle up for Section 4, the secret creator economy.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. We are about to pull back the curtain. We've been enjoying these great ESL tips, the heartbreaking airport sagas, and that amazing 5 a.m. motivation. But now we enter the backstage. Prepare yourself for a massive plot twist. All of it. The language tips, Linda's airport tragedy, Thomas's 5 a.m. awakening. They are very often part of a highly lucrative, entirely AI-generated YouTube niche. That's right, the heartfelt stories and the perfectly structured lessons we just consumed are frequently the product of automated, faceless digital channels. None of these people actually exist. Mind-blowing, right?
So why go through the effort of making these automated videos? Well, $10,000. That's why. Our source analysis reveals that popular channels in this niche, channels just posting simple English conversations and motivational stories, are generating upwards of $10,000 a month solely from YouTube ad revenue. And the craziest part of the whole shebang? It is incredibly easy to produce if you just know the formula.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, building AI content channels.
Let's actually break down exactly how this is done. We're going to look at the creator blueprint for manufacturing this exact style of content using artificial intelligence. It all starts with a script, and the secret sauce is the ChatGPT prompting strategy. You don't just go in and say, write me a story. No way. First, you feed a successful target channel into the AI and ask it to analyze the niche, the style, and the overall strategy. By giving the AI all that context before asking for a script, it generates this perfect conversational tone. From there, you just generate 50 potential topics in seconds and command the AI to write a 15 to 26-minute podcast-style script. Once that script is locked in, creators run it through this incredibly rapid 4-step production line. Step 1, like we just saw, is the ChatGPT script. Step 2 is generating custom images or scenes using a tool like Whisk AI. Step 3 is where the real magic happens, using an app like DubDub to create fake human avatars that perfectly lip-sync to incredibly realistic AI-generated voiceovers. It's wild. And finally, Step 4, pulling all those generated assets into CapCut to edit them together.
When you actually break down the channel's production workload, you see this really fascinating split. While the AI tools are out there doing the heavy lifting for the text, the visuals, and the audio, the human creator still acts as the master director. They have to creatively edit all the pieces together in CapCut, removing green screens from the avatars, layering audio sound waves, pacing the conversation so it flows naturally, and adding dynamic subtitles just to keep the viewer hooked.
And all of this brings us to the absolute core takeaway of this entire explainer, the dual ecosystem. Think about it. This isn't some scam, it's a symbiosis. The viewers are getting genuine, life-changing educational value. Learning not to translate words in your head, it actually works. Waking up at 5 a.m., it works. The front stage is legitimately helpful to people. Meanwhile, the creators hanging out on the backstage are building highly profitable, automated media businesses. Everybody wins. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, provocative question. We know the 5 a.m. mindset can literally change lives, and now we know exactly how these lucrative AI channels are being built behind the scenes. So tomorrow at 5 a.m., are you going to wake up to watch the video, or are you going to wake up to build the channel? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.